When you think of global business hubs, what's the first image that comes to your mind? Maybe the skyscrapers of New York, where Wall Street never sleeps. Maybe the buzzing streets of Shanghai, where factories and startups coexist in one unstoppable engine. Or maybe London, where finance and history walk side by side. But let me ask you a different question. What if I told you that 6 Indian cities, cities you may have never visited, cities that sometimes still struggle with traffic jams and power cuts, are quietly preparing to join that list? Would you believe me? Because the truth is the global map of business is not fixed. It changes. It is shaped by ambition, by talent, by resilience. 20 years ago, if you told the world that Shanghai would rival New York as a financial hub, many would have laughed. But I lived through it. I saw farmland turn into skylines, small family workshops evolve into global supply chains. I saw how a city can transform the destiny of a nation, and today I see the same energy in India. Not just in Delhi or Mumbai, which already command the headlines, but in 6 rising cities that are rewriting the rules. Why are cities so important? Because cities are not just geography. Cities are engines of talent. They are laboratories of innovation. They are the places where young people come with dreams, where investors test their courage, and where governments prove their vision. A country's future is rarely written in its villages or its parliaments. It is written in the energy of its cities. Think about it. Silicon Valley was not planned by Washington. It was shaped by students, engineers, and dreamers in California who believed they could change the world. Shenzhen was not Beijing's master plan in the beginning. It was a fishing village where entrepreneurs dared to build, experiment, and fail until success became too big to ignore. And now India stands at that same turning point. The question is which cities will carry their future. Let me tell you something I've observed about India. For many decades, when global companies thought about India, they thought about outsourcing. They thought about back office support, call centers, and IT services. That was the India of the 90s and early 2000s. But today, something much bigger is happening. India is not just outsourcing anymore. India is building. India is training talent not for someone else's company, but for its own future industries, and the cities where this transformation is happening. That's what excites me. This is not just about GDP-2 numbers. It's about something deeper, dignity and opportunity. When a young person in Hyderabad or Pug or Ahmedabad finds a job in a cutting-edge industry, it is not just a salary. It is pride. It is the chance to tell their parents, I am building something that matters not just for my city, but for the world. That is what makes a city global, not its airports, not its malls, not its skyscrapers, those come later, but its spirit, its ambition, its ability to attract and keep talent. Now I want you to imagine this. Picture a student in Bangalore. She is studying AI, working late nights on a project that uses machine learning to predict crop yields for farmers. She's not thinking small. She's thinking about how her idea could scale across Africa, Southeast Asia, maybe even the United States. Picture a biotech researcher in Hyderabad collaborating with colleagues in Boston and Berlin, developing the next breakthrough in medicine. Picture a young entrepreneur who used to run a textile shop, with his father now building a smart manufacturing startup that exports to 3 continents. This is the new India, not hidden in outsourcing offices, but standing proudly on the global stage. And if you look closely, you will see where this is happening. Not in one mega city, but across 6 powerful hubs, each carrying a unique strength. But before I name these cities, I want you to pause and think, why is this shift happening now? The world is reorganizing. Global supply chains are being rewritten. Technology is no longer concentrated in just Silicon Valley or Shenzhen. Every country is fighting to build its own hubs of innovation and capital. India has two big advantages. First, its youth. Millions of educated, ambitious English-speaking young people ready to work, ready to innovate. Second, its cities, not one or two, but many, each with different identities, industries, and opportunities. That is India's secret weapon, because when one city slows down, another can rise. When one industry matures, another can be born. This multi-city advantage is something even China didn't have in the beginning. China built Shenzhen, then Shanghai, then Beijing. India is building 6 at once. This, my friends, is why I believe the story of India's rise will be written not in parliaments, not in policies, but in the streets of these cities. They may still have messy traffic, they may still face power cuts, they may still look chaotic to outsiders, but behind that chaos there is an energy you cannot ignore. It is the energy of young people refusing to wait for permission. It is the energy of entrepreneurs who say if the world won't give us a seat at the table, we will build our own table. And that is why in this talk I want to take you city by city, not to give you a travel guide, but to give you a vision of where the next hubs of global business are being born. Because the next time you fly for business, don't be surprised if your meeting is not in New York, not in London, not in Shanghai, but in Bangalore, Chennai. That's not the future. That's already beginning now. And now let's see how each of these cities is transforming itself into a global hub of business and innovation. When I first visited Bangalore, I understood why people call it the Silicon Valley of India. The streets are crowded, the traffic never ends, and the air is full of noise. But look deeper and you feel the heartbeat of innovation. Inside those glass towers and co-working spaces, young engineers are building products not just for India, but for the world. Every major global tech company, Google, Microsoft, Amazon has a base there, not just to sell but to innovate. And more importantly, hundreds of startups are being born in tiny rooms fueled by coffee, ambition, and the belief that they can solve global problems. Bangalore is not perfect. Power shortages, infrastructure struggles, and even rising costs. But what makes it powerful is its talent density. It has become a magnet for the best minds of India, just like Silicon Valley did for America. When a city attracts talent, the economy follows. Now, if Bangalore is India's Silicon Valley, then is its biotech and pharma powerhouse. People sometimes forget this, but is home to one of the world's largest clusters of pharmaceutical companies. It has become a global supplier of vaccines, medicines, and biotech solutions. During the pandemic, it was S companies that produced and distributed vaccines to countries across Asia, Africa, and beyond. And here is the interesting part. Hyderabad is not just about medicine anymore. The city has quietly been investing in artificial intelligence, in life sciences research, and in cloud data centers. The government built what they call Jome Valley, an ecosystem for biotech and life sciences where researchers, scientists, and entrepreneurs work together. When you combine medicine, AI, and data, you are not just talking about a city. You are talking about a future industry hub that the world will depend on. Then look at Chennai. It may not make headlines like Bangalore, but it has something even more powerful. Manufacturing and deep tech, Chennai has long been the automotive capital of India. Companies like Hyundai, Ford, BMW, and Renault build cars there. But now the city is shifting gears. The next wave is electric vehicles, renewable energy, and robotics. Chennai is becoming a hub for EV battery production, smart mobility, and even aerospace components. And when I visited, what struck me most was the resilience of its people. They have faced floods, cyclones, and natural disasters, but each time they rebuild stronger than before. That resilience is the DNA of a global hub, because global cities don't just need talent, they need endurance. And Chennai has proven that again and again. Now let's talk about Pune. 10 years ago, Pune was seen as a quiet city, more famous for education than for industry. But education itself is power. Pune has some of India's top universities, technical colleges, and research institutes. What happens when you put thousands of smart, curious young people together? Innovation happens. Today, Pune has become a rising hub for information technology, AI, and financial services. It is also leading in auto tech and green innovation. Tesla suppliers, EV startups, fintech companies, they are choosing Pune because of its talent and ecosystem. And there is something unique here. The cost of living is lower than in Mumbai or Bangalore, which means companies can build at scale and young entrepreneurs can survive longer. Sometimes the next global hub doesn't rise from glamour, but from quiet determination. That is Pune's story. Then there is. People may think of it as a textile city, but they underestimate how far it has come. Textiles were just the beginning. Is now home to smart manufacturing, chemicals, pharmaceuticals, and fintech startups. The city has been quietly building one of the most modern industrial ecosystems in India. It is deeply connected with trade, logistics, and exports. When I spoke with young entrepreneurs there, I noticed something special. They don't think small, they think global. They don't just want to serve India. They want to serve Africa, the Middle East, and Europe. That global vision combined with their manufacturing strength makes a rising powerhouse. And when you combine traditional industries with new age startups, you create something unstoppable. That's why investors are starting to look at as not just a regional hub, but a future global business hub. And finally, we must talk about some people may be surprised by this name. They think of as a city of history, culture, and literature, not as a business hub. But remember, cities reinvent themselves. Shanghai was once called the Paris of the East. Then it fell behind. Then it reinvented itself into a global financial hub. Kolkata is beginning its own reinvention. With its strategic location near Bangladesh and Southeast Asia, with its deep ports, and with its growing startup ecosystem in fintech, edtech, and logistics, Kolkata is starting to shine again. And let me tell you, this culture matters. A city that values literature, art, and history is also a city that produces creative problem solvers. In today's world, creativity is as valuable as capital, and Kolkata is rich in that spirit. The coming decade will surprise many who underestimated its potential. So when you step back and look at the bigger picture, you see something very unique. Bangalore drives technology. Hyderabad powers life sciences. Chennai builds manufacturing and EV. Pune nurtures education and green innovation. Ahmedabad fuels the smart industry and global trade. Kolkata brings creativity, culture, and connectivity to the table. 6 cities, each different, each carrying a unique strength. This is not a competition. This is collaboration. Together, they create a network of hubs that no single city can achieve alone. That is India's advantage over many countries. Diversity of hubs, and when you connect these cities with infrastructure, with digital platforms, with global trade routes, you don't just build cities. You build a new map of global business, and this is why I believe by 2030, the world will not just look at India as a country of 4 billion people. They will look at India as a country of 6 global cities, each playing on the world stage. When I look at these six cities, Bangalore, Hyderabad, Chennai, Pune, Ahmedabad, Kolkata, I see more than just urban centers. I see the future DNA of India's global rise. Every global power in history has been defined by its cities. Think about America, Silicon Valley, New York, Los Angeles, Boston. Think about China, Shanghai, Shenzhen, Beijing, Guangzhou. It is always the cities that drive innovation, trade, and global influence. Countries rise not only because of governments or policies, but because their cities become magnets for talent, capital, and creativity. And now I believe India's time has come not because it has one great city, but because it has six very different ones, each complementing the other. This is rare, it is powerful, and it can change the balance of global business in the next decade. But here is the lesson I want to share. A city is not just buildings, highways, or airports. A city's true strength is its people. When I visit Bangalore, I don't see glass towers. I see engineers working late at night because they believe they can build the next unicorn. When I walk in Hyderabad, I don't just see labs. I see scientists who believe their research can save lives across continents. When I stand in Chennai, I see factory workers who take pride in building something real, something that moves the world. In Pune, I see students who may not have money, but who have big ideas, and that is enough to start. In Ahmedabad, I see families who turn small businesses into global exporters step by step. In Kolkata, I see young creatives who want to turn art, finance, and culture into fresh industries. The future of India's global cities will not be written in government reports. It will be written in the late-night work of a coder, in the experiments of a scientist, in the dreams of a student, in the resilience of a worker. That is how great hubs are born. That is how Singapore became a trade hub. That is how Shenzhen transformed from a fishing village to a tech capital, and that is how India's six cities will claim their place in the next global decade. Now here is another lesson. Many young people ask me, Jack, how do cities win in the global economy? I tell them this cities win when they focus on building, not boasting. Too often nations and cities fall into the trap of talking big, but not doing the work. They host big conferences. They make big slogans, but on the ground, nothing changes. The truth is no global hub is built on slogans. It is built on sweat, patience, and persistence. Silicon Valley took decades. Shenzhen took decades. Bangalore has been building quietly for 30 years, and the next 30 will decide if it becomes truly global. The cities that will rise are not the ones that shout the loudest. They are the ones who build the most quietly day by day. And this is where I see India's advantage. Indians are dreamers, yes, but they are also doers. They don't just talk about AI, they code it. They don't just talk about pharma, they manufacture it. They don't just talk about resilience, they live it every time they rebuild after a flood, a pandemic, or a crisis. Another reflection, the strength of India's six cities is not only in their economy, but in their diversity of strengths. Bangalore leads in digital innovation, Hyderabad in biotech, Chennai in manufacturing, Pug in education and green energy. Ahmedabad is an industrial and trade hub. Kolkata is in creativity and connectivity. If one city stumbles, another will carry the torch. That network effect is what makes India so unique. I will share something personal. Years ago, when I was leading Alibaba, I often looked at how China's different cities played their roles. Hang, my hometown became a tech hub because it had entrepreneurs willing to take risks. Shenzhen became a hardware hub because it welcomed factories and innovation. Shanghai became a global finance hub because it attracted international talent and capital. Each city specialized, and together they made China strong. Today I see the same story beginning in India, and here is the critical point. The global business map is shifting. For decades, America and China dominated, but the next decade will not belong to one or two countries. It will belong to networks of cities across Asia, Africa, Latin America, and beyond. In that network, India's 6 rising hubs will be central. Why, India is not only large in population, it is large in talent, large in ambition, large in diversity. But let me be honest with you, the road ahead will not be easy. These cities face challenges: infrastructure, inequality, pollution, and bureaucracy. If they ignore these, they will fall short. If they overcome them, they will lead. Bangalore must manage its urban chaos. Hyderabad must ensure its biotech boom does not leave the poor behind. I must balance resilience with sustainability. Pug must make education affordable while pushing innovation. Ahmedabad must keep reinventing industry, not relying on old strengths. Kolkata must modernize without losing its cultural soul. The future belongs to those who solve problems, not just celebrate strengths. So, what is the lesson for you, the listener? It is this: whether you live in India or not, whether you are in one of these cities or far away, remember that opportunity is shifting. The world is not controlled only by New York, London, or Silicon Valley anymore. The world is opening new doors. The next unicorn, the next breakthrough, the next big idea may come from a student in Pune, a scientist in Hyderabad, a coder in Bangalore, or a creative in Kolkata. If you are looking for where the future is being written, look there, learn, invest, collaborate. And for young Indians listening to me, you may feel small compared to the scale of the world. But remember, so did young people in Shenzhen 30 years ago. So did the coders in Silicon Valley 50 years ago. They started small, but they believed. If you believe and if you work, your city will rise with you. Don't wait for governments to do everything. Don't wait for perfect conditions. Start now, build. Because the global hubs of tomorrow are not created by plans on paper, but by the courage of people who build today. When I think about the next 10 years, I see India not as a follower, but as a leader. I see 6 cities that could become names the world cannot ignore, just like Tokyo, New York, Paris, and London. Soon Bangalore, Hyderabad, Chennai, Pune, Ahmedabad, and Kolkata could join that list not as replacements, but as partners shaping a multipolar global economy. And let me leave you with one final reflection. The secret of a global city is not just in GDP or skyscrapers. It is in dreams. Shanghai was not built by economists. It was built by dreamers who believed their city could shine again. Silicon Valley was not created by politicians. It was created by young people in garages who believed technology could change the world. Dreams are the foundation of every global hub. So if you are from Bangalore, Hyderabad, Chennai, Pune, Ahmedabad, or Kolkata, I say to you, dream bigger. Don't just dream of serving your city. Dream of serving the world. Build something so strong that the world has to pay attention. Because when cities dream big, nations rise. And when nations rise, the world changes. This is India's decade, and its 6 cities, each with its own rhythm, its own challenges, its own brilliance, will write the story. The question is, are you ready to be part of it? So as we close this journey, I want you to remember something simple. Cities rise because people rise and nations lead, because ordinary men and women refuse to stay ordinary. Maybe you are just a student, or maybe you feel like a small worker in a very big world, but every global story begins with someone who once felt small. If you are in Bangalore, Hyderabad, Chennai, Ahmedabad, or Kolkata, this is your time. If you are outside India, remember that the future is not waiting for you in old centers of power. It is being written right now in places you might not expect. Look closely, and you will find opportunity where the world is just beginning to pay attention. My advice to you is this: don't chase the world, build for the world. Don't wait for perfect chances because they never come. The world belongs to those who are ready before the world is watching. If you fail, fail fast, learn fast, and rise again. Every great city has scars, and every great entrepreneur has failures. That is what makes the success real. And to the young generation, remember this: the global economy of tomorrow is not about competing alone. It is about collaborating. The 6 Indian cities we spoke about will not rise by fighting each other. They will rise by complementing each other, and in the same way, your success will not come from crushing others, but from building with others. I thank you for walking with me through this vision. These 6 cities are not just dots on a map. They are sparks of a global fire. And one day you will look back and say, I was there when it began. Stay curious, stay hungry, stay humble. Because the next chapter of the world's business story is waiting to be written by you, and in my next reflection, I will share something deeper. Why India's rise will not only reshape business, but also redefine leadership itself, and what the world must learn before it's too late.